The news hit Moscow like a thunderclap, an electric jolt that rippled through the city's midnight air. People stopped in their tracks, eyes glued to their phones, as the headlines blared from every screen and newsstand. Whispers of disbelief and fear swept through the stream. As Muscovites tried to process what was unfolding before them, Vladimir Putin had begun a brutal purge of his top commanders, a move as sudden as it was ruthless. The Kremlin's inner circle, once thought untouchable, was now being torn apart in a matter of hours. Once hailed heroes of the special military operation were being discarded overnight, their reputations shattered and their futures uncertain. These were men who, just months ago, had been celebrated on state television and paraded as symbols of Russian strength. This wasn't a simple reshuffle, it was a desperate culling, exposing the Kremlin's deepening crisis. The corridors of power echoed with anxiety, as officials wondered who might be next. Putin's move revealed not strength, but a fatal weakness at the heart of his war machine. The image of control he tried to project was cracking, revealing a leader grasping for answers as his military faltered. The war in Ukraine, for Russia, is already lost, and this purge is the clearest sign yet. The evidence is scattered across the battlefields, abandoned tanks, destroyed vehicles, and the relentless advance of Ukrainian forces. The Russian military's command structure is paralyzed by fear and incompetence, where loyalty trumps skill. Officers are more concerned with survival than strategy, and innovation is stifled by suspicion. Vice Admiral Sergei Pinchuk, head of the Black Sea Fleet, was the most prominent casualty. His dismissal sent shockwaves through the ranks, a warning to all who might question the Kremlin's narrative. His fleet, once a symbol of Russian power, had been decimated by Ukrainian naval drones. The Black Sea, once dominated by Russian warships, now tells a story of defeat and humiliation. Putin's purge is a public admission of catastrophic failure. In Altawin, Stantugaskaman, Sompretoyi, Binanim Kurkukurin, Priboin, Sunpripref blame for national humiliation. The somber faces at press conferences cannot hide the scale of the disaster. But the rot runs deeper than any single admiral. It's systemic, rooted in arrogance and outdated doctrine. Years of corruption and denial have hollowed out the military's core, leaving it brittle and unprepared for modern warfare. The message to every general and admiral is clear: no one is safe. Every officer now lives with the knowledge that loyalty is no guarantee of survival. Yet this climate of fear only breeds paralysis, not innovation. Decisions are delayed, risks are avoided, and the army's fighting spirit is slowly suffocated. Putin thinks he's restoring control, but he's severing the nerves of his own army. The chain of command is frayed, and morale is at an all-time low. The Kremlin now fights a war on two fronts, against Ukraine and against itself. As the leadership turns inward, the cracks in Russia's power grow wider, threatening to bring the entire edifice crashing down. Vice Admiral Pinchuk's once promising career came to a dramatic and public end with the sinking of the Sergei Kotov, an event that sent shockwaves through Russia's naval command and signaled a turning point in the Black Sea conflict. This was yet another humiliating loss for Russia's navy, a force that once prided itself on dominance in the region. Ukrainian partisans, working with remarkable precision and patience, had tracked Pinchuk's movements for months, gathering intelligence and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As the failures mounted, social media and opposition voices openly mocked Pinchuk, turning him into a symbol of Russia's military blunders. Protesters and commentators predicted his downfall long before it became official. His firing was not just expected, it was seen as overdue by many observers. Pinchuk was left commanding a fleet designed for the grand naval battles of the 20th century, hopelessly outmatched in a 21st century war. These Russian warships, relics of a bygone era, were built for show and intimidation, not for the realities of modern high-tech warfare. Against swarms of cheap, explosive-laden Ukrainian drones, these ships were sitting ducks. Pinchuk had no effective countermeasures, and his fleet paid a devastating price. The loss of the Sergei Kotov was just the latest in a string of disasters. The Kremlin's response was predictable: find a scapegoat, fire him in a public display, and pretend the deeper problems have been solved. But this is little more than a bandage on a festering wound. The real issue lies in Russia's entire naval doctrine. Corrupt, arrogant, and stubbornly blind to new threats. Years of neglect, mismanagement, and overconfidence have left the fleet vulnerable and outdated. Firing Pinchuk changes nothing. His successor inherits the same obsolete ships, the same flawed strategies, and the same insoluble dilemmas. The problems are systemic, not personal. The collapse of the Black Sea Fleet is not just a personal tragedy for Pinchuk, it's a symptom of a military machine unable, or unwilling, to adapt to a rapidly changing battlefield. Ukrainian partisans, emboldened by their success, now celebrate openly. Their public taunts and propaganda only deepen the humiliation, showing the world just how far Russian prestige has fallen. The Kremlin's purge is nothing more than political theater, a desperate attempt to maintain the illusion of control and reform. But the world is watching, and it sees through the charade. Russia's navy is broken, and no change in leadership can fix what is fundamentally flawed. The Black Sea, once a symbol of Russian power, has become a hunting ground for Ukrainian innovation and resilience. Russian ships now sail in constant fear, never knowing when the next attack will come. The fall of the admiral is a stark warning to all. Under Putin's rule, failure is not just punished, it is inevitable. The system itself breeds defeat. And so, the cycle of scapegoating continues, while the strategic rot at the heart of Russia's navy remains untouched, threatening to drag the entire fleet, and perhaps the nation, down with it. Pinchuk wasn't the first Black Sea Fleet commander to fall. He followed a trail of defeat that stretches back through recent history. Each leader before him faced mounting setbacks, and the weight of past failures hung heavy over every new appointment. Admiral Osipov vanished from public view after the Moskva, Russia's prize flagship, was sunk by Ukrainian missiles, a blow that sent shockwaves through the entire Russian navy and shattered the myth of invincibility. His replacement, Admiral Sokolov, arrived with promises of new tactics and renewed resolve. But under his command, the fleet suffered even greater losses, including the destruction of a submarine while it sat vulnerable in dry dock, a symbol of how exposed the fleet had become. Ukraine's daring missile strike on the fleet's headquarters in Sevastopol shattered Sokolov's authority and left the command in disarray. Soon after, he too was quietly replaced, his tenure marked by chaos and defeat. Each new admiral inherits a fleet that is weaker, more demoralized, and increasingly isolated. Their mission is nearly impossible: to project Russian power in a sea where every move is watched and every ship is a target. The command structure is now in chaos, with officers struggling to plan effective operations or even trust their own leaders. Uncertainty and suspicion have replaced discipline and confidence. The Black Sea Fleet has been forced to abandon its historic base in Sevastopol, retreating east to Novorossiysk, a move that amounts to a de facto admission of defeat and a loss of strategic initiative. Russia can no longer guarantee the safety of its own ships in waters it once dominated. Patrols are rare, and every voyage is shadowed by the threat of attack. Commanders are dismissed for losing ships, but the true loss is far greater. Russia's strategic grip on the Black Sea is slipping away, and with it, the prestige of its navy. The fleet is left rudderless, forced to react to events rather than shape them. Once a symbol of power, it now drifts without clear purpose or direction. The relentless cycle of failure and replacement breeds only instability and fear among the ranks, as officers wonder who will be next to fall. Each new admiral takes command of a shrinking fleet, tasked with fighting a shrinking war, resources dwindling, morale fading, and hope slipping away. The Black Sea Fleet's legacy, once a source of pride and power, is now defined by retreat, humiliation, and the slow erosion of its influence on the world stage. Ukraine's naval drones have revolutionized warfare in the Black Sea. With no major warships, Kyiv built a fleet of explosive-laden, remote-controlled speedboats. These drones are cheap, hard to detect, and devastatingly effective. They attack at night, swarm targets, and slip past Russian defenses designed for bigger threats. A single hit can cripple a billion-dollar warship, as seen with the Olenigorsky Gornyak and Ivanovets. The psychological toll on Russian sailors is immense. Every shadow could be a drone. Morale has plummeted. Some crews refuse to go to sea, fearing they're just targets. Ukraine's tactics have neutralized Russia's naval advantage, forcing desperate, ineffective countermeasures. The technological gap widens as Ukraine refines its drones, leaving Russia always a step behind. The Black Sea's balance of power has shifted. Innovation has trumped brute force. The drone swarm attacks not just ships, but the minds of those who sail them. Russia's navy is now on the defensive, trapped by an enemy it underestimated. The great equalizer has arrived, and it's Ukrainian ingenuity. Ukraine's drone campaign has redrawn the Black Sea's strategic map. Russia's blockade, meant to strangle Ukraine's economy, has been shattered. The Black Sea Fleet, once the enforcer, now cowers far from the front. Ukraine's creation of a humanitarian shipping corridor was a bold gamble, and it worked. Commercial ships now export millions of tons of grain, sustaining Ukraine's economy and global food supplies. The fleet's retreat to Novorossiysk is a stark symbol of Russian defeat. Amphibious assaults on Odessa are now pure fantasy. Russia's naval ambitions are sunk. Ukraine has achieved sea denial without a traditional navy, a historic first. The Kremlin's dream of dominating the Black Sea is over. Homemade drones have destroyed Putin's strategic objectives. The Black Sea is, in effect, a Ukrainian lake. Russia's naval defeat is total and irreversible. The purges weren't limited to the navy. On land, incompetence was just as deadly. Major General Akhmedov, the butcher of Vuhledar, epitomized Russia's callous tactics. He ordered repeated futile assaults across minefields and into Ukrainian kill zones, sacrificing thousands. His approach was a throwback to Soviet meat grinder tactics, soldiers as expendable resources. The elite 155th Naval Infantry Brigade was wiped out and rebuilt multiple times under his command. Akhmedov's obsession with political victories led to catastrophic losses. His removal was inevitable, but came too late for the men he sent to die. The Kremlin's response? Fire the general, ignore the system that produced him. Akhmedov was a symptom of a command culture that values loyalty over competence. Generals fear Moscow more than enemy fire, leading to disastrous decisions. Firing him is political theater, the real disease remains. Russia's army continues to rot from within. The truth about Akhmedov's command came from the men he sent to die. Surviving Marines from the 155th Brigade wrote an open letter, exposing the senseless slaughter near Pavlivka. They accused commanders of sacrificing lives for bonuses and medals, not strategy. The letter went viral, revealing a chasm between soldiers and distant generals. Similar complaints echoed across the front, soldiers used as cannon fodder, leadership absent or drunk. Even elite units were treated as disposable. Regular infantry fared worse. Dissent reached a boiling point when General Popov was fired for reporting the truth about casualties. In Russia's army, honesty is a career-ending offense. This culture of denial ensures the cycle of failure continues. The meat grinder grinds on, fed by lies and fear. The firings of Pinchuk and Akhmedov are part of a wider purge destabilizing Russia's high command. Since the invasion began, generals have been appointed, failed, and dismissed in rapid succession. This revolving door affects every branch. No strategy, just chaos. At the top, commanders like Dvornikov, Zhidko, and Surovikin have come and gone, each leaving confusion behind. Constant turnover destroys morale and readiness. Officers focus on survival, not victory. Subordinates fear reporting bad news, knowing it could end their careers. The system is breaking under the strain of a war it cannot win. Putin demands results but blames generals for his own failed strategy. The result? A brittle, dishonest command incapable of adapting. Russia's military is paralyzed by fear, not led by competence. Today's purges echo Stalin's Great Purge. Loyalty valued over competence, truth punished. Stalin's paranoia left the Red Army unprepared for war. Putin repeats the same mistake. Generals are destroyed not by the enemy, but by their own leaders' fear and denial. The most capable are sidelined, while sycophants and butchers rise and fall in a cycle of failure. The decision to purge commanders instead of changing strategy is an admission of defeat. The war is lost not on the battlefield, but in the minds of leaders trapped by their own propaganda. An army that eats its own cannot win. A regime that punishes truth cannot adapt. The firings of Pinchuk, Akhmedov, and others are not signs of control, but of collapse. The Kremlin's frantic purges are the death rattle of a broken system. Russia's defeat is sealed, not by Ukraine's weapons, but by its own arrogance and incompetence. The world sees the truth in the purges, not the propaganda. Putin sacrificed his army's future to save his own present. In doing so, he has sealed Russia's fate in Ukraine.